Jay-Z and Diddy and a teenager, 13-year-old
Right,
teenager. What did you feel about just that whole thing, man?
As much as people feel like I haven't had issues with Puffy. I don't like him like that. Like, I don't like things that you do. But Jay definitely not that.
50 Cent is back, and this time is shaking up the industry in a way that can't be ignored. What he's doing goes far beyond jokes, memes, or one-liners aimed at Diddy. It feels deeper, sharper, and far more calculated.
It hasn't even been a full week since the shocking new sexual assault allegations against Jay-Z have come out, and already we are seeing quite the reaction from some pretty high-profile people. Let's see what some celebrities had to say about Sean Carter's legal development and bombshell claims against Jay-Z. Sean Carter, in that federal sexual assault lawsuit, an unnamed Jane Doe is accusing the rapper and business mogul of raping her at a VMA's after party back in 2000 when she was just 13 years old. A party thrown by none other than Sean Diddy Combs, who she says also sexually assaulted her that night. In fact, she claims in her amended complaint, which now lists Jay-Z as the defendant. When it was first filed in October, by the way, he was only labeled as Celebrity A, but now he's been identified as Sean Carter, Jay-Z. But in the complaint, it states, Combs then threw plaintiff toward a wall, causing plaintiff to fall. Plaintiff got up and stumbled, at which point Combs grabbed her again and threw her on the bed. At that point, Carter began removing plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. The complaint says that Jay-Z then raped this teenager, and then Diddy proceeded to rape her as well. And by the way, this allegedly was in a bedroom while an unnamed female celebrity watched the assault. And this Jane Doe has sued both men for this alleged assault under the Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, which provides a look-back window to sue for claims that would otherwise be too old, barred by a statute of limitations issue. It just has to be a violent act that was motivated by someone's gender. So here the idea is that she was an underage girl, she couldn't consent. And remember, this all comes as Sean Combs is sitting in the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, on federal sex crimes charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. That he operated a criminal enterprise that engaged in a campaign of abusing women and using illegal methods to coerce people to engage in prolonged sex performances with male sex workers. It wasn't just us reacting to this Jay-Z news, no. Celebrities have been reacting to it as well. And I think a good place to start would be with rapper 50 Cent. Why? Why him? Because he has already been quite vocal during the Sean Combs legal saga. For instance, after the raids by federal agents on Combs' properties months ago, before his arrest, 50 Cent posted on Instagram, "Now it's not Diddy do it, it's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case." And he has posted several memes mocking Combs' legal troubles. He also shared a video from someone on social media that called Combs too freaky for society. And when Combs was officially arrested, he took to Instagram. He posted a picture of him and Drew Barrymore and wrote, "Here I am, keeping good company with at the Drew Barrymore show, and I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at the house." Obviously a reference to the amount of lubricant and baby oil that prosecutors revealed were recovered from Sean Combs' properties. And in fact, I should also tell you that 50 Cent is reportedly working on a Netflix documentary about Combs' legal troubles. But when it comes to Jay-Z, what did he say? He said a few things, or he did a few things. So first, I should tell you that there doesn't appear to be any love loss between the two of them, because back in the day, the two had a beef, at least through lyrics against one another.
50 Cent's latest moves are pulling in figures once thought untouchable, with Jay-Z now finding himself in the mix. While 50's jabs at Diddy are nothing new, this time the tone feels different, more focused, consistent, and deliberate. He isn't just firing shots for entertainment. He's piecing together a pattern, dropping hints, and shining a light on whispers that have lingered behind closed doors for years. Bringing Jay-Z into that narrative changes the stakes, because Jay has always been careful, strategic, and above the drama, letting his music, business deals, and billion-dollar empires speak for him. That's exactly why 50's approach is so striking. He knows Jay won't respond, because Jay plays chess, not checkers.
For instance, 50 Cent released the song How to Rob, in which he seems to suggest robbing Jay-Z. And Jay-Z put out a song called It's Hot, Some Like It Hot, in which he rapped, "I'm about $1, what the F is 50 Cent?" Now, although they had performed together in the past, maybe patched things up or looked like things were okay, doesn't really look like they're besties, because I mean in 2011, 50 told MTV News, "We don't have those kinds of relationships. These people are people I associate with. We're in the same business. We're not necessarily friends. We don't call each other for no reason." And I should tell you, if you had any doubt about their friendship, well, what did 50 Cent do just in the wake of this Jay-Z lawsuit? Well, he posted on Instagram a meme of him in a car with the caption, "Okay, I don't know what's going on, but are we going to still have the Super Bowl? Worried emoji? I'm just asking for a friend." That, of course, is in reference to the fact that for the last few years, Jay-Z and his company Roc Nation helped to produce the Super Bowl halftime show. But he really wasn't done there, because you know how right after the lawsuit was filed, I mean less than 24 hours, Jay-Z, his wife Beyonce, their 12-year-old daughter Blue Ivy, and Beyonce's mom Tina Knowles attended the LA premiere of Mufasa, The Lion King. This is what we talked about in a previous sidebar. But now, in a deleted post on Instagram, 50 Cent wrote, "Jay said they said I raped a kid. Everybody get dressed, we're gonna see Mufasa," seemingly poking fun at him for going to a movie premiere in the wake of these brand new allegations. Now, to be clear, Beyonce and Blue Ivy both star in that movie. I think that they could have avoided the premiere, but maybe some would say you shouldn't have showed up. I don't know. But anyway, I will tell you, I interviewed body language expert Susan Constantine about how Jay-Z appeared at that premiere and whether it told us anything based on his body language. Take a look.
When I look at Jay-Z, you can see his lips pursed. That is a form of agitation. So when we look at that, when people purse or tighten their lips, it tells you a little bit about their cognitions, maybe that he's not really enjoying this as much as he's portraying when he was walking on. And what I'm looking for is a cluster. I see a horizontal stressor right across his forehead, and then he has his hand in his pocket. So we've got three things, which is a cluster. You would think that Jay-Z would have incorporated Beyonce into the mix by putting his arm around Beyonce's waist. We didn't see that here. So that's why I'm saying there's almost like a separation of two different frames. Beyonce, of course, alliances are with her daughter. You can see her leaning her head towards her daughter. Her daughter's out up front, is almost in a princess type of positioning. So overall, when I'm looking at this, the mannequin type of stance that Tina has, the agitation that Jay-Z is concealing. So what I mean by that, it's not an outward or expression, it's actually micro expressions of showing you what some of cognition might be.
But going back to 50 Cent for a second, you know what else he apparently did? Because it didn't end there. He apparently posts an AI-generated video of Jay-Z and Sean Combs in tuxedos getting arrested by police with the caption, "I want to post this, but I'm afraid I'm going to get shot. LOL, laughing emoji." Now, one other thing I have to mention about 50 Cent before we go to other celebrities. So he sat down for an interview with personality Big Boy.
50 Cent, a man who thrives on controversy and fears no one, has recently turned silence into a weapon by pushing provocative narrative about the so-called industry parties. These aren't the usual industry gatherings, but the ones long whispered about in blogs and private chats, rumored to involve power plays, blackmail, bizarre initiation-style rituals, and nights that shift from glamorous to grotesque behind closed doors. At the center of these swirling allegations is Diddy, and while nothing has been proven in court, the growing chorus of voices, from former friends to bodyguards to artists, makes the whispers harder to ignore, even when the full details remain hidden.
He addressed a lot of this. He said, "I haven't had issues with Puff where I don't like him. I don't like things that he would do that make me uncomfortable." And in terms of Jay-Z, he said, "I just hope things are all right for him internally. I mean at the crib." Because in the statement they mentioned his daughter being old enough to, because she about 13, so it's the same age as these kids they saying he did something to. And he also said the damage is already done by the allegation itself. And he even claimed that the NFL regarding the Super Bowl show, quote, will fall back in light of this lawsuit and they won't necessarily be associated to that. Meaning the NFL, they won't necessarily stick with Jay-Z. Now, in terms of what he said about Jay-Z's home life, he seems to be referencing Jay-Z's statement that was put out after the filing of this complaint. And the statement accused Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, of trying to blackmail him to settle the case before filing what he claims are false allegations. And he said the following: "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirit." So that was basically what 50 Cent had to say so far. But going back to Tina Knowles, remember I mentioned her, I want to talk about her for a second and talk about her, I don't want to say reaction to Jay-Z's lawsuit, because as you'll see, she says this really wasn't her, but something very curious happened. There were reports that Tina Knowles liked an ABC7 Chicago Instagram post about the lawsuit, with the caption reading, "Sean Jay-Z Carter and Sean Diddy Combs are accused of raping a then 13-year-old girl at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards," according to an amended civil lawsuit that was filed Sunday. So, did she really like that? Well, she says no. In an Instagram post, she denied liking the post, claiming her account was hacked, writing, "As you all know, I do not play about my family. So if you see something uncharacteristic of me, just know that it is not me. And please stop playing with me. No weapon formed against my family shall prosper." And of course, as I mentioned, she attended the Mufasa premiere with Jay-Z and the family and looked in good spirits. So maybe that reaction wasn't really a reaction. But I will tell you who did react: Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. So let me set the stage for this one. So we go to the December 10th broadcast of Inside the NBA on TNT. And there is a discussion among the group of Kenny Smith, Ernie Johnson, Shaq, and Barkley about who could face off against commentator Stephen A. Smith on the basketball court. So at one point, Charles Barkley says to Smith, "You said the man isn't on your level. Stephen A. played college basketball." Now Smith defends himself, says that he's a champ, and then he says to Shaq, "Listen, man, do you think Jay-Z or..." And he starts to trail off. And before he can finish his thought, Barkley jumps in and goes, "Probably not a good time right now." All the panelists start laughing. The crew in the background starts laughing. Smith jokes and says, "You're silly, man. You're silly, man," while shaking his head. And then Shaq gets up, walks off stage, and hides behind a pillar in a joking fashion as Ernie Johnson says, "Go and see if you can fix the wall, will you, Shaq?"
The noise has grown too loud to ignore, and 50 Cent isn't just fanning the flames, he's directing them by naming names, directly or indirectly, and leaving the public to connect the dots. He creates a ripple effect. When he hints that Jay-Z might have been present at these infamous parties, may have known what was happening, or perhaps even participated, it lands differently because Jay isn't Diddy. He has no long trail of public feuds and is seen as one of the respected grown-ups in the industry. That's exactly what makes 50's play so dangerous. It threatens Jay's carefully built image. The motivation remains unclear. Is it personal, business-driven, or an attempt to expose the whole system? Some argue it ties back decades to 50's disdain for the so-called gatekeepers he never trusted. And now, with scandals, lawsuits, and investigations surfacing, he sees the cracks and seizes a chance to say, "I told you so." Yet it's strategic, rarely making direct accusations, instead relying on implication, suggestion, old photos, and cryptic captions, letting his audience do the heavy lifting. Fans and commentators take the bait, filling forums with theories, podcasts with deep dives, and timelines stitched together from early 2000s footage, lyrics, interviews, and body language, turning it all into a kind of digital archaeology.
She was raped by both of these musicians at a Video Music Awards after party back in 2000. And now Jay-Z, who is adamantly denying the allegations, is not only trying to get the whole case dismissed and thrown out, but he is also asking the court to impose sanctions upon Jane Doe's Texas attorney, Tony Busby. Now, this may sound very familiar, by the way, because this has been an ongoing legal war between Busby and Jay-Z and his legal team. Accusations that Busby engaged in extortion, that his firm pressured a client to lie, that Jay-Z's camp has been engaging in intimidation and harassment, Jay-Z called Tony Busby a deplorable human being. He even filed a lawsuit against Tony Busby. And by the way, Jay-Z and his legal team, their position was that Busby had extorted the rapper, that Busby allegedly threatened Jay-Z during negotiations that he would go public with these claims. Jay-Z says these are false claims, but public with these claims unless Jay-Z agreed to pay what they claim is a, quote, exorbitant sum in private mediation within a 2-week period. Jay-Z says that when he refused, that is when he was named by Tony Busby in the lawsuit. Remember, this lawsuit first came out. It was only identified as unnamed celebrity A, and then in an amended complaint, Jay-Z was identified as celebrity A. So you're seeing this really bad blood between the different players here. I mean, it got so bad that the judge in this case, Judge Annalisa Torres, actually scolded Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, writing in a recent order, Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Now, despite not allowing Jay-Z to immediately file for sanctions, Judge Torres did permit Jay-Z to file the motion that we're about to talk about. And this is big. So this is Jay-Z's memorandum of law in support of his motion for sanctions and dismissing the complaint. So basically, these are his legal arguments. So the filing begins right on page 1. While the allegations stated in the complaint in this case are gravely serious and injurious to Mr. Carter's hard-won reputation, many of them, on their face, strain the outer bounds of credulity, and none of them appear to have been subjected to even the most rudimentary diligence by the filing attorney who initially signed his name to them and has since declined to withdraw them. Because the federal rules and professional ethics require more of a filing attorney, Mr. Carter now respectfully seeks appropriate sanctions. And by the way, when we're talking about sanctions under Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, we're talking about a way to punish attorneys for really bad conduct. Usually it's a monetary punishment. It's rare. You don't see this all the time. You have to be talking about really egregious bad behavior. Rule 11, it's about making false representations to the court, filing a lawsuit for an improper purpose, like merely to harass someone, that you're asserting claims or defenses that are not backed up by the facts, the law, the evidence. The bottom line here is that Rule 11 requires attorneys to conduct reasonable inquiries into the facts and into the law before they file. Makes sense, right? Well, Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's attorney, claims that Tony Busby violated Rule 11 by, quote, either knowingly making false allegations about Mr. Carter in the amended complaint, failing to conduct an adequate investigation into the complaint's factual allegations, or at a minimum, failing to withdraw the complaint once it became clear that numerous allegations in the complaint are false and the other allegations.
People are now digging to uncover who knew what and when, and even the slightest association of Jay-Z's name with such scandal poses a major risk because Jay isn't just a rapper, he's a brand, a corporate figure tied to the NFL, global partnerships, and billion-dollar ventures where scandal of this nature is poison. Yet Jay-Z has remained completely silent, no statements, no denials, no legal threats, which fits his usual strategy of only engaging on his own terms. But silence can be read in many ways. Professionalism to some, evasion to others, and 50 knows exactly how to exploit that. By filling the silence with noise, speculation, and breadcrumbs that lead in every direction, he keeps the narrative alive. Meanwhile, Diddy faces real legal trouble with investigations underway, associate being subpoenaed, and former allies turning against him, making 50's commentary sharper and more dangerous. He's no longer just roasting. He's implying the existence of a larger network, a system where Diddy is only one piece and other powerful names have yet to be exposed. That's why when 50 even jokingly suggests Jay-Z might be tied to this web, it carries weight, because people are already primed to suspect hidden truths beneath the polished image of the industry. And once doubt creeps in, it's nearly impossible to erase. Adding to the chaos, insiders are now whispering off the record that 50 isn't simply trolling, he's executing a calculated strategy.
Therefore, at least highly suspect. So what do they mean by these allegations are false? Well, here is where it gets a little tricky for Jane Doe, because NBC News actually interviewed her, and they looked into this case. They looked into her claims. And here's what the filing says. NBC News journalists determined that a number of allegations were either false or highly doubtful. For example, paragraph 44 of the complaint claims that the party, again, this is the party where she claims she was assaulted, the party occurred at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway that was approximately 20 minutes from the VMAs by car. But photographs show that after the VMAs, Mr. Carter attended a party at Lotus, a nightclub in New York. And by the way, there is a photo included here, provided by Alex Spiro, of Jay-Z at what appears to be a party with a lot of people. Later on in the memorandum, he writes, other photographs from that evening also show Mr. Combs with his then-girlfriend, the musician and actress Jennifer Lopez, at two different establishments, Lotus and Twirl, neither of which was a large residence with a U-shaped driveway. And there is another photo that is included. This time it's of the pair, Jennifer Lopez, Sean Combs, and there is a caption at the bottom that says that they are at a MTV Video Music Awards after party at Twirl on September 7th, 2000. But that is not the only alleged inconsistency. You see, Jane Doe has claimed in her complaint that she was able to escape this situation and run away to a nearby gas station, call her father to pick her up. Well, the filing says, paragraph 60 states that after the alleged assault, plaintiff's father drove to pick her up. But her father has no recollection of doing so, despite the fact that it would have been a 10-hour drive round trip to retrieve his 13-year-old daughter from a random gas station. And yeah, that was included in the NBC report. It was a big part of it because this accuser's father told NBC, quote, I feel like I would remember that and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind. Now, Spiro continues in this filing saying, paragraph 46 states that plaintiff spoke to celebrities at the alleged party, but when journalists pressed her as to which celebrity she spoke with, she named a person who was in Chicago that evening performing a concert. So Spiro explains a little bit more about this later on in the filing, where he writes, plaintiff also claimed with certainty that she spoke with musician Benji Madden at the alleged party about his tattoo, The Last Supper. She supposedly remembers this interaction with clarity because she has a religious background, so it was something to talk about. But Mr. Madden was not even in the state of New York. His representative told NBC that he did not attend the VMAs and in fact was on tour in the Midwest with his band Good Charlotte. Then, Spiro writes, paragraph 40 states that plaintiff watched the VMAs on a Jumbotron. In fact, photographs from that evening show there was no Jumbotron, as New York City had denied MTV a permit. And included, also by Jay-Z's legal team, is a screenshot of what appears to be a video, so it's a still shot, from a YouTube video that is titled 2000 MTV VMAs Red Carpet. And it appears that someone is performing on an outdoor stage in New York, but from that pic, yeah, you don't see Jumbotron. Then, Spiro continues, and the same paragraph says that plaintiff approached limousine drivers at the VMAs. And by the way, the allegation was there is that a limousine driver had taken her to this party. But, Spiro writes, video shows that the limousine area was cordoned off by police and inaccessible to fans. And included is another screenshot of that same video from YouTube of the exterior of the Radio City Music Hall where the VMAs was being held. And you see limousines outside.
Whispers of NDAs, hush money, and long-buried secrets are surfacing, with claims that real receipts and stories are being quietly passed around. And if even a fraction proves true, the fallout could be catastrophic. Jay-Z isn't just another celebrity. He's a cornerstone of hip-hop, a cultural icon tied to billion-dollar partnerships in tech, fashion, and sports, which makes even the slightest association with these rumors dangerous, raising questions about what he knew, what he ignored, and how deep the rot goes. Yet Jay remains silent, appearing calm in public, courtside, at events, with no PR blitz, no legal threats, no visible panic, which could signal either confidence or quiet preparation. Meanwhile, 50 Cent escalates strategically, dropping posts that go viral before deleting them, posting again from another angle, playing a long game that no one, legally or publicly, has dared to challenge. That silence only fuels the fire, making people wonder if this is the beginning of an industry-wide reckoning that could expose corruption, power games, and hidden truths at the highest levels. If Jay-Z is even indirectly tied to it, it could reshape how the last 2 decades of his empire are seen, forcing uncomfortable questions about what success in this industry really costs. And this is where 50's voice matters, not because it's flawless, but because it's fearless, untethered, and unwilling to play by the same rules, making him unpredictable, dangerous, and possibly one of the few willing to say what others won't. The tension is building. Media hesitates. Names go quiet. Appearances vanish. And that's not coincidence. It's fear. Because the truth rarely surfaces clean. It comes with damage and consequences. And if 50 keeps connecting dots and dropping hints, someone will slip, and when they do, the entire facade could collapse. Until then, all eyes remain fixed on his next post, his next cryptic comment, because nothing he does is accidental. He's not just chasing attention. He's playing for legacy, exposure, maybe even justice. And right now, he holds all the cards.